Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Community. Hi, Maria.
Hi. You're not excited anymore?
No, I'm excited, but like it's tough because I'm always excited for everyone, and then it's tough to be like, I'm so excited to talk to, and then it's always excitement. So now I'm just like, yo, Maria's here.
What up? What up?
I just recorded with Ben, and I asked him to be my future co-host. He said no. You've said no.
Wow.
So I think I'm a solo host kind of lady.
That kind of ties in well to what we want to talk about today.
I didn't even think of it like that because I'm so high vibe.
Wow, look at you.
Growth. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is about rejection.
Sorry that we both rejected you on the co-host status.
You know, it's okay because my co-host is either out there or I'm meant to do this alone. Like, that's my attitude.
So high vibe.
So anyway, this is something that if you are in business, you will face at some point. Someone will say no to you at some point. And sometimes there are things you're super excited about and you're like, heck yeah, this is going to be awesome. Sometimes you're not that excited about it. And, you know, you have a conversation and you're like, oh, I felt like it should have been a no or should have been a yes. And, you know, sometimes you have different feelings about things. But I know for us, we've been in business over 4 years. We've seen some shit.
Oh, God. When you were like, you'll face rejection at some point, I'm like, daily?
Daily, yeah.
And I feel like before we got into business, like, you don't really actually face rejection that much. It's kind of like, well, at least for me, it was like a peaceful little time and you go about your daily life and there's like a little thing maybe here or there. But in business, it's like, it's slapping you across the face.
Totally. And, you know, one of the things too is that like if you are a business owner, sometimes we let rejection like really hold us back. And that's something that we've definitely noticed, right? Where it's like, you know, we've been in business for a while and you know, sometimes we won't do things because we're fearful of the rejection or we don't make that ask and sometimes people make asks of us and I'm like, that's ballsy. Like that is a ballsy ask. But it's also a reminder of like, I'm like, yeah, shoot your shot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're going to shoot your shot and it's going to be a no. And sometimes the no has nothing to do with you. And sometimes the no is about you. And that's okay too. And we're going to talk about our tips of overcoming rejection.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic because I feel like when you first get into it, you don't actually realize that you are going to get rejected that much. It's actually a good thing because if you're not getting rejected, you're not shooting your shot enough.
You're way too comfortable if people are saying yes to everything. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's a really good indicator of price, too.
Yeah.
For a while, our podcast launches were, I guess, almost half the price that they are now. And I don't think we were making $1. Like, if we were to do the math on this, I don't think $1 was made. And why we brought them up was I was like, I'm selling them too quickly. Like, I get on, there's never, ever, no one ever even has to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think this might be not even market value. This might be too cheap. And we did some market research, and I was like, oh, yes, well, much too cheap. And they were still on the lesser, like, side. But, you know, I think that is also an indicator sometimes is that, like, rejection can happen. And, like, you sometimes want some rejection. You want to because it's actually a learning opportunity. But rejection can feel so personal because sometimes our identity is tied to our business. Mm-hmm. And, like, it feels like, you know, our productivities, our worth, all of that happens. And it makes rejection even worse because it's like, oh, if they say no, it says something about me. If they say no, it's because I'm bad or whatever, when that's not the case at all. And it's normal to be fearful of rejection, of course, but if it's not helpful to you, if it's going to keep you stuck.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, being so tied to your business. I know we mentioned this in the episode where we talked about your journey with motherhood. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're like, our business is not our baby.
Yeah.
Your baby is your baby.
Yeah, Jack's my baby. Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that a little bit of that separation can be really helpful. And it also helps with viewing rejection as information. Because really that's what it is. And that's what we're talking about with the pricing. It's like, oh, that's great information that we're not experiencing any rejection when it comes to the pricing. Okay, how can we use that information, right? Yeah. Or maybe you're getting rejected 100% of the time when it comes to your pricing. That's great information. So going back to the drawing board and being able to adapt and use that to further your business and improve your processes and prices and whatever it might be, right?
Totally. And the other thing too is one of the things that Maria and I, we're going to share some examples of rejection, talk about like a little bit some things that have happened in our business, juicy, but maybe not that juicy, I don't know. But one of the things is really thinking about like, you know, rejection as an opportunity for like kind of redirection, and it's not failure. So it's like really easy for us to be like, oh, like, you know, especially like with High Vibe Women, something that we've noticed is like with sponsorships, there is a brand even today we were just talking about, anyway, I've been going back and forth with them, like it feels like for my whole entire life, about trying to sponsor High Vibe Women. They say they're interested, and then they go back on it, and then they say they're interested anyway. We had a little bit of headway made today, and I was really excited about it. And I could have viewed that as like, oh, like people don't want to do this, or like the amount of times sponsors have been like, wow, you are persistent.
I was gonna say,
and I'm like,
she's persistent,
and I'm like, I have to be, right, like, because you guys are getting so many pitches, and I want ours to stand out. And so again, if I saw every time they didn't respond to one of these emails, every single time, one of them, I was like, this is actually getting to the point where it's embarrassing. I'm at the point where it's like shameful. But what I will say is that, like, if I saw that as like, oh, High Vibe Women's not worthy, or we should stop doing High Vibe Women because we've been emailing these people and they're not responding, then we would be missing out on like some of the greatest stuff that we get to work on. And so I think it's really important that like we need to separate that. And we've had a few definite rejection stories. Like one for me that I think is really easy for people to relate to is like pitching clients and then being ghosted. Mm-hmm. You know, that's definitely, you have a great call with somebody. You know, I've had people confirm on the call, like I tell them the price and they're like, I'm all in, to never be heard from again. Or I run into them at in-person events. Guys, don't ghost people. You'll see them again. That's the way the universe works, you know? But that can be really hard because you're investing the time in the pitch and you really want to, like, you know, build that connection, or maybe there's something good happening there. But yeah, I don't know. That's a big one.
Yeah. And also I think like clients firing us.
Yes.
Especially at the beginning when it was like you and I working on the accounts and we were like, oh, this feels real personal. There a few tears have been shed.
By me.
Me too.
You shed a tear?
I mean, I did try and quit a few times.
Yeah. I wouldn't let you.
I was like, I can't do this.
Aren't you so happy I like held on to you? We were just talking about this today with Ben about, like, you know, when ships sink, like about business ships, not just like regular boats. And I made a joke about like Ben's like tied to our ship. But it's like, I think it's like easy when you're stressed out to like want to quit. And I was like, no, like keep it going. But I used to cry every time a client left, and I would take it so personally.
And I think it does feel personal. Like now we're better at like separating ourselves from the business, but especially when you're a solopreneur, or like at that point it was just Christina and I, and like we were everything, right? Like we were the business. We did all the work. We did all the behind the scenes. We did all the client facing stuff. We did the sales. We like everything. Like from start to finish, we were the team. So it did feel personal because we tried so hard, and we're like staying up till 3 a.m. thinking about these clients, and we're like, they're asking for something urgent. We're getting it to them in half an hour. And Christina, I remember at one point was literally like on vacation in Dominican or something. I can't remember where. And like in a pool. And this client is like making insane requests and like basically bullying her. And we're like trying so hard to like keep her, right? Yeah. And then she ends up firing us, and it's like,
no, that was the first client I fired, and I remember so vividly being so scared to do it because I was in such scarcity, which is like another form of rejection, right? Is like even if you make the firing, or like even if you're the person who you're like, okay, I'm gonna end this. I remember because her and I were like going at it. And I was like, and you were asleep because, you know, a sleepy girl.
Projector things.
And I was like, can you text me when you wake up? And you like texted me, and I was like, hey, and we'd only been in business like 5 months, right? And we were learning everything. We learned everything, like, you know, by doing. And I was like, oh my God, Maria, like, I'm so sorry. But like, this woman would have kept us probably until like we died, like, you know, like because of the price and what we were doing and whatever. And she was so horrible. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I fired her this morning. And like, she's one of our bigger clients, which now LOL, when I look at that price tag. But I remember feeling so much guilt, but also so much like, oh my God, what does that say about us? And it's easy when we lose a client. And a lot of those initial clients who we work with, they're not in business anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like, you know, people making pivots and stuff. But at the time, it felt like it was about us.
Yeah.
And sometimes like, being fired by clients, or, you know, getting ghosted on a proposal, or, you know, telling, you know, you put out a price and people tell you that's too expensive. That's so much more about them than it is about you, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's so important. Like, this is why we're in business together. This is also why we created the High Vibe Women community, to have people to pull you out of that and remind you of that, right? And like, and in those early days, how High Vibe Women really started was we had a group chat of like 5 of our friends who are entrepreneurs who were really positive and encouraging, and we do it for each other too, but like we lift each other out of those, you know, sort of dark places, because when it does feel personal and you do take it like to heart, sometimes you need someone to like just grab your hand and pull you out of the
Yes.
the river. You know what I mean?
Honestly, and actually something that has been really helpful has been even like, not to be too pitchy on this, but Maria and I, we did a bunch of masterminds, right? That was like a huge piece of how we grow our business so fast. It's like building a really solid referral network. And we met other agency owners who, like Steve and Jeanette, and Allie Hicks, right, who were doing it as well. And we were able, and I remember when I was in the Dominican Republic, and like we had lost that client, or maybe it was something else that had happened. But I remember messaging them being like, "Hi, I'm on vacation and I'm fucking spiraling about this $600 a month client, and I'm like, will we ever get a client again?" And always what happens to us is we lose clients en masse. Like, it's never like just one. It's always like perfect growth, big rocket ship, and then all of a sudden it's like 5 or 6 people leave at the same time. Never for a related incident. People are always telling us how much they love working with us. Like, it's so like, I'm like, give me some feedback. And they're like, it's money. Like, and we're like, okay, I can't do much more about that. And I messaged them and they were like, hey, you know what's super weird is that I have this list of these original clients we used to work with. And I found it the other day. And it's so funny because not one person's the same. That's what I think it was Steve had told me. And he's like, and that's normal. It's like agencies churn, people move on, you grow, you offer different things, right? So there's so many learnings there. But in that moment, I needed someone to like affirm that for me. And that's why like masterminds are so important, or, going to High Vibe Women and meeting that business bestie who's actually, could be a competitor, but is actually somebody who you end up doing like work with is just so important, because it helps, because sometimes you are going to get rejected and you're going to go through difficult things. But having someone that you can be like, shit, like that was weird that happened. Like, am I wrong? And that person being like, no, is sometimes that like perk up you need to be able to like kind of keep going.
Yeah, I think you need both sides of it, right? Like, you need the people who are in a similar space as you to tell you like, this is normal. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
This happened to me like literally yesterday. Like, we're in this together. And I think going into it knowing that you're going to get rejected and people are going to fire you and it's not about you, like, really helps mindset wise, because you're expecting it and you understand that it's normal and it's not about you.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the coin is that more like emotional kind of like hype up side, right? Where they're like, you got this, like, your work's valuable. And honestly, I feel like most of the time when you're getting rejected, sometimes it's about you, sure, but I actually think like probably 80 to 90% of the time it's actually about the other person.
Totally.
And the fit or whatever it might be, whatever they have going on.
Yeah. And that's hard sometimes when you're in it. Like, we were even talking about something this morning kind of about this too, where it's like often it's like a redirection. Like, and sometimes in the moment it doesn't feel like that. And whatever's happening is the worst, right?
Yeah.
You're struggling, you're in it, you're like, it's so hard. And like in the moment, it's not super helpful for people to be like, what? Like, it's going to be great. Like, I always hate this. It's like people are like, I do this to people. So sorry in advance. But when people are like, the best is yet to come. And I'm like, the best is not yet to come. Yeah. Like, it's not coming. Like, it feel like, let me be in it, let me spiral. But actually, like, these last 4 years, one of the things we've really had to do was build like kind of like this like resilience against that. And like that, especially I would say like you and I have experienced it in different ways, where you are really high vibe, like when we lose clients or things like happen, you're kind of like, YOLO, like, like that's fine. But then there's things that also really upset you that don't upset me, right? And so we've been able to work on that together. But it's really important to be able to keep putting yourself out there and trying, because what I do find is that, you'll lose a client and then 2 better ones come. That's been our experience in business always. Or, you're disappointed by something and it's because there's space for something else. And that's why it's really important that like you can like really like look into like, okay, why did this not work? Why am I disappointed by that? Like, do I want to keep trying it? Like even these sponsors, like, we get so many no's to get one yes. And the yeses are so good when they come. But imagine I was just like, well, I'm not going to ask people for sponsorship anymore because, I DM'd Skims and they didn't respond. And so now I'm done. Like, I wouldn't get the opportunity. We've been sponsored by some amazing businesses. And I do think the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
But it's like we need to build some of that resilience.
Yeah, I love the quote, failure is closer to success than thinking about success is.
Yes.
And like failure and rejection are like steps to success. It's not a step backwards. It's in my mind, it's actually a step forwards. I think you're getting closer to success when you're failing, when you're getting rejected. And I think you had 2 like really, really important points in there. The first is you have to maintain that high vibe perspective. You have to remember that like when one door closes, another opens, and everything's happening for you, not to you. And remain positive, because it's true. Like, the universe, God is for you. And so when these things are shitty and they suck and you're like in it and it's the worst, you do have to keep like just remind yourself that it's for the best. It's like it is something greater. And at the same time, feel your feelings, right? Like cry, be sad, let it out. We always say to each other, like, I need like one low vibe day.
Yeah.
And like that's okay, right? And when we're talking about being high vibe and high vibe women and all this stuff, it's not just like be positive all the time. That's not what it's about. You do have to feel your feelings, and getting rejected sucks, failing sucks, and like I think it's important to like let that out and express that and feel those feelings and just, put a bit of a cap on it. Like don't let that go on for 2 years. Like have a low vibe day, like feel it, right? Like let it suck, let it be shitty. And then the next day, put your boots back on and get back to work, baby.
Well, actually, there was a really good podcast I listened to. We're really lucky we get to produce Aaron Spivak's Founder to Founder podcast, which we love. Such a good podcast. And, we're members of Founders Club. We love Founders Club. And Aaron and his business partner did this podcast where they talked about like how they kind of like overcame like growing their business. They had like the number 2 acquisition, I think, or like sale of a product like D2C like in Canada. Like, so it's like they
They did the damn thing.
They did
Love me a hush blanket.
Yeah. They made some money. And Aaron and his business partner were talking about how when one of them is struggling and they're in that like season of like, oh my gosh, like, we just got too many returns or like this happened or a chargeback or whatever. One of them would go to the other person and they'd say, oh, like no sales. And then the other person would have to like basically tell them like why they're wrong. So they'll be like, oh, we're going to a market tomorrow. We're going to make I don't think they were selling at markets, but like just like at the Kitchener Farmers Market selling hush blankets. No, but like, they're like online sales are up, or they're like, hey, like we're going to this awesome fair, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. And like we're going to this event. And like we see like, and that's actually been really helpful for me too, of like, we actually have our own version of that without using those words of like, when one person's like, ugh, like, and we've said it to the other person, like even this week.
This literally happened like yesterday.
Yeah. You were like, I'm feeling low vibe about this thing that like we've generally been pretty excited about. And I was like, call me tomorrow morning, sleep on it, call me tomorrow morning, and let's like regroup. And we regrouped. And at the end of it, I was like, how are you feeling? And you were like, yeah, no, this is it. Like, you're right. Because it's easy for other influence to get into our orbit, rejections, no's, people's advice, podcasts. And sometimes you just need to like gain like the best clarity you can get is in silence, in conversation with like a business partner or someone you really trust. But sometimes that's hard, especially if you've been getting a lot of no's or you've been receiving a lot of info.
Yeah, and I think that's why we always preach about business besties. And it sounds like this cute little like girl boss term or whatever, but it actually is a business strategy. Like to have that person who you can go to and who can like pull you out of that funk, whether they're a business partner, whether they have anything to do with your business or not. Like they just need to be a good, trusted friend. I think it's important to have someone you can go to in those moments that can help bring you out of that spiral.
Yeah. Spiral. And
so thanks for bringing me out of that spiral.
And I'll say too, like when people say no, it also is really helpful. Like, every no is bringing you a little bit closer to a yes. Every no is like helpful for you to be able to, maybe redefine your niche, define your offers a little bit better, be able to, have some of those better conversations. And, we've had this where we've definitely gotten rejected from things. And it's like, it's been amazing actually, like for us to be able to be like, okay, like, we're noticing like even with sponsorship, like I'm like, oh, that actually probably wouldn't be an aligned partner because I'm emailing them 85 times and they're probably not gonna be a good partner, right? Like, that kind of stuff, like you're able to really think about things in a different way. And so that mindset is really important. And we just want to encourage you, like, as we wrap up, like make those bold asks and you're going to get no's. Like you have to build that like armor towards it and that resilience, because if you're not getting no's in your business, I don't think your business is at its like capacity for growth. And like you need no's. You want clients to say no to you. You want people to say no to you. Even for me with podcasting, like I've pitched people to be on the podcast that have like faded into oblivion. I'm on red, guys. And I also have some people who are like on my list who've said yes, who are going to be amazing guests, and I can't wait to interview them. But, they have parameters on it. They're like, hey, you have to be in California to do this, and this is what that looks like. And that's not a no. And I talk actually about this in my episode with Lori, because I kept being like, Lori, come on my fucking podcast, like, please. And she was like, I really like to record in person. And I was like, okay. And then for a while there, the only time I was ever in the U.S. was for something with Chris and Lori. And she's like, I don't do before my own events. And I was like, so I'm never going to interview you. And then finally she let up one time. And Allie and I were able to interview her. But like, and in the interview, she was like, I did that actually like not, and I could have made that about me. I could have made that about my podcast is too small. She doesn't want to talk to me. She's too busy, like, whatever. But when we got on the podcast, what she said to me was, I did that actually like out of protection of our relationship, because like I like love you and I want to do such a good job that I'm actually not in the season, like, you know, right before an event where I'm the best for my podcast. And that actually gave me so much permission when I was pregnant of like, I would just email people and I'd be like, I'm just not in a season where I'm going to be a good guest for you. And like I emailed someone, I was like, hi, I have extreme pregnancy brain and I literally talk in circles. So I was like, I really want to do a good job with this podcast. Can we reschedule? And people were so understanding, right? And people could have taken that to be about them and it wasn't. And so, yeah, I think it's just like make those bold asks, you build up some armor around some rejection. And I think that's the key to growing your business into heights that you don't even know yet.
Yeah, totally agree. If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Amen.
And if you're not getting rejected, you're not making bold enough asks.
Yes. Okay, well, let us know a bold ask that you're going to make this week. We want to hear, who are you inviting on your podcast? Who are you pitching? Who are you doing some work with? And we'd love to hear about that. So send us a DM and share this episode with someone who you think has some bold asks to make. Have an amazing day.
Bye.